How much time do you spend kind of feeling out the machine before you kind of open it wide open for jobs?
We do both at the same time.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I'm kind of known in the industry for being a little crazy.
Cutlite Penta America prioritizes the business needs of North American metal fabricators by delivering fiber laser systems focused on power, speed, and quality. The team behind Cutlite Penta has developed one of the fastest equipment production times in the industry to get your shop from PO to profits in 5 months or less. Learn more by visiting CutlitePentaAmerica.com.
Hello, welcome to this episode of the Fabricator Podcast. I'm Dan Davis with the Fabricator, and this is
Tim Heston with the Fabricator.
And this episode is sponsored by Cutlite Penta America. As part of today's guest will be Mitch Lewandowski, the acting CEO of Cutlite Penta America, and his customer, Cupples J&J Company, and president of that company, Jeff Cupples, someone that Tim has written about quite a bit. And we have a great conversation about all the laser cutting knowledge he has and the laser cutting machines. And how many does he have now?
Oh, about 542. No, he has several dozen, so to speak. He's going to detail it in the podcast here, but I've visited him several times. He calls himself crazy, so that's something. Yeah. He actually has pushed the laser cutting envelope for years and years. We've followed him for years and years. Heard stories of him blowing laser cutting heads as lasers have upped the ante as far as kilowatts are concerned. It used to be just pushing the envelope. Heads were very sensitive, and people were like, "Oh, it's very hard to get that fiber laser, especially the fiber laser, up past those 10 kilowatt, 12 kilowatt, 15 kilowatt." Well, now we're at 20 and 50 kilowatt, and the game really has changed.
Yeah. So before we jump into it, Cutlite Penta's from Italy. My wife wants to go to Italy when she retires as of December. And I know you've been. Where do you recommend I go with my wife?
Oh, you're going? Oh, I did not know this.
I've been told this, yes.
You've been told this?
Yes.
Well,
what would you recommend?
I don't know. I should ask my wife, because my wife actually lived there for a few months. So she is quite the, and she speaks Italian. So there you go.
That is a skill neither of us have.
She is the introvert in our family. But in Italy, she's the extrovert, because I'm just like, yep, here you go.
There you go.
Well, you've been to Venice, right?
Yeah, I'm not so sure I want to go to Venice, though.
Have you been to Florence?
I haven't been to Florence.
Go to Florence.
Okay.
Well, Florence is beautiful.
How's the food?
Go to Bologna. Bologna is nice.
We've been to Bologna. I tell you, one of the best meals I've ever had was on a press junket in northern Italy, and they had white asparagus risotto. Okay. Man, I'm not down on asparagus, but this was heavenly, man. Holy crow! So I'm kind of looking for that type of like culinary experience.
Yes. Well,
I'm gonna find it in Florence?
I suppose so. I actually, Italy was my first trip overseas. Like when my wife and I first got married, she took me over to Italy. I'd never been overseas anywhere. She had done like college abroad. I never did that. I just went right to work and kind of like, man.
You went to New Jersey.
I went to New Jersey. That's right. And so I fly over there, and we were going to Milan and the Northern Lakes, which Como, beautiful.
There you go.
Yeah.
Hang out with what's his name?
Yeah, George.
There, look, you do know.
Yeah, George.
I think he sold a place though.
He sold it? Oh, okay. Well, I can't buy it anymore.
There you go.
But oh my gosh, I had to go to the restroom so bad, and it was like, I still remember this all these years later. I go in and you had to pay, and I did not have any euros. I had not changed over euros. This is back in the day where you had to pay. Oh, I was so angry, and so I just kind of pleaded with the lady, saying, "Please," and it worked.
There you go.
But I still, it was just, oh my gosh, I was so angry. But then we took a boat out into the middle of this was a Finisterre, I believe. I'm probably getting it wrong. Apologies. Anyway, but it's a fish-shaped island where this hotel was. It was beautiful. We get in there, beautiful, and now I'm happy again. So it was
there
wonderful.
You go. All right, now I asked you for advice, and now you've scared me.
Yeah, well, and then also don't ask for a dinner reservation at 6.
Well, all right.
Because that's what my wife and I did, and they looked at us like we were crazy.
Okay, so we'll vacation in the villages in Florida so we can eat at 5:30. On that note, I think you'll enjoy this episode of the Fabricator Podcast. Once again, sponsored by Cutlite Penta America.
Increase capabilities and profits with Cutlite Penta America's Fiber Plus 30 kilowatt bevel laser. The fastest fiber laser in the market allows shops more output per shift with the ability to clean cut 2-inch plate and a bevel head that saves time on secondary processing. Learn more by visiting cutlitepentaamerica.com. And now back to the episode.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. A conversation with both Jeff and Mitch. We'll get to it. But first, we'd like to thank Cutlite Penta for sponsoring this episode. And Jeff, you mind telling us a little bit about yourself and your business?
I'm with Cupples J&J Company. We are a machining and fabrication robotic welding job shop in Jackson, Tennessee. We've got about 320 people. And we're just a contract manufacturer that likes the technology and try to grow with it. So.
Yeah, and we've covered Cupples J&J more than a couple times, and you're kind of downplaying your your contribution to the metal fabricating industry. But one of the things I think Tim, when he wrote an article on you in late 2023, described your operation as kind of a precision plate cutter, amongst the other things you do. Can you kind of chime in on that or describe what that might mean?
Well, we fell into laser cutting in 97, and we always try to push the envelope. We always try to push for more power, more speed, more acceleration. As I go to visit manufacturers, I just say, I'm not greedy. All I want is power, speed, and acceleration. And I try to push them to do different things. I've switched manufacturers a few times to do that. And, as we kept moving forward, we finally hit the level where we got into high-powered plasma, super high-def plasma. It's very good, but it just wasn't quite good enough with high tolerances. And we fell into a trip going to Italy. I was walking down through the show, and there it is, Cutlite Penta, 30 kilowatt. So then we jumped on board with that. Now, we've got 430s, and we're looking for higher. So,
yeah. But explain your background in the high-powered laser arena, though, because I've visited you several times, and I've seen. You've kind of gotten a reputation in the industry for, pushing things to the max, so to speak, in the laser cutting arena, in the laser cutting bed. So just kind of bring me through how you've started, up the wattages over the years, so to speak.
Well, we're a job shop, and what we have to do as a job shop is we have to outproduce the manufacturer, or they have no reason to buy from us. So, as more power comes along, we try to jump on that boat and show, hey, look, here's what we can do with it. As the lasers have gotten even more and more power, you get up to the 20 kilowatt, you're up in the midline thicknesses of 5/8 and 3/4, and you're rolling some pretty good speeds. And what it does for you at that stage is, well, I was cutting out on a plasma, but now I can hold precision. I don't have to drill holes. I don't have to machine edges. I've got better tolerancing for the robot weld fixture parts. So you've got better parts coming out, and just more power is more speed and more thickness and more precision.
Right.
It all comes together, and it balances what we do in our machining operations. We've got like 30 VMCs and 30 CNC lathes, a bunch of horizontals and boring mills and all that. So we're manufacturing parts for ourselves, and machinists are hard to come by. So with the 30 kilowatts, we're doing things like precision holes and precision edges that we used to have to take to the machine shop. Now we don't have to do that anymore. So we've made machinist by using high power, high precision.
Just to give people who might be listening an idea of just the dramatic difference in what was once considered best in class to what is now. You before we went live, you told the story about a job that used to take upwards of, I don't know how long it was, but now it's only like 19 minutes.
Yeah, we still have 2 old 6 kilowatt CO2s running these 3/4 inch thick plates, and we'll run it in a cell still because we're still getting something out of the machines. But it was taking like 2 hours, 9.5 minutes to run these plates. next to it, we pulled out an old CO2, put the 30 kilowatt in. It runs the same plate in 19 minutes and 8 seconds.
Yeah.
So instead of having one person running two machines, you've got two people running the one machine and doing the best they can to keep up with it. So that's massive productivity. And the best way you can make money is doing the same thing you're already doing, but a different way and getting a lot more output.
Yeah, definitely. Now, kind of give me the impression you had. You went to Lamiera. I've been to that show. You saw Cutlite Penta there. What drew you to that booth?
Saw some people, went in, looked at the cuts, and I was like, man, that's impressive. And I went in and talked to the tech, and they solved some things that others had not in the high power arena. They're not cutting through chip conveyors or cutting through the machines. They figured some things out. Good looking cut. So
Right.
I've got to learn more about this. And that was in early May. I went back in July and bought one after I saw the factory, went back for the sign off, and I bought another one.
Right.
Then once they were both installed, wow, these things are really, really kicking it. You know, we're getting high productivity and good precision. So we bought two more.
Wow.
So
Right.
now I went back 6 weeks ago and we got two more coming. So.
Wow.
Right.
So Mitch, as a, representing Cutlite Penta here in the U.S., you're seeing this kind of people wising up to what high power means in laser cutting. Can you kind of comment on what you're seeing from your perspective?
Yeah. So, as Jeff knows, and he's been in the industry a long time, there's a lot of desire to be able to increase efficiency on the production floor. We could build a new factory somewhere. Okay, great. We could hire more people. Yeah, good luck on that. But if you say, how much more productivity could we get off the same square footage of space and the same amount of people and get more product to our customers and be able to bill, when you see the amount of efficiency you can get on what Cutlite has been able to bring to the market, it becomes a no-brainer. I was just in Italy last week with a gentleman that was there to look at some lasers who Jeff would know. And we took him over and saw one of the lasers that was just doing some demo cuts. And he was looking at me. He's looking at the lasers, looking at me. He's like, no way. I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh my gosh. And so when people start to figure out how much more efficient you can be on the production floor with the technology that Cutlite has, it is a no-brainer. It used to be that people were saying, oh, we have to do an ROI study. We have to do this whole time analysis and spreadsheet this out, over 3 months, 5 minutes of seeing that. You're like, yeah, what color you want it.
Right. And, when I visited your shop, what's interesting is, of course, we geeked out about, laser tech, but, when I geeked out is when I looked up at your plumbing. Mm-hmm. And the what we call it, the surge tank of nitrogen, right next to it.
And the loop.
And the loop. Well, I've seen loops in shops, but not the big loop that you got. That's really cool. But then to the gas mixing technology. So kind of describe, the importance of gas when you get to this level of curve.
Well,
as far as the flow.
If you're cutting with just oxygen, with a fiber or a CO2, you can only vaporize so fast. You can only burn something so fast. Now, like when you cut with nitrogen, you're basically using the high pressure to blow out things that you're slicing through. Nitrogen lets you give a good inert coating around a hot sword, basically. Then when you do gas mixing, you're taking that hot sword and adding a little bit of oxygen to it and making it a little bit hotter. And that helps you get rid of the bottom dross and actually lets you increase speed a little bit, even more so. You can nitrogen cut, 1.25 inches. If you've got good steel, you can mix gas cut up to about 1 inch.
Right.
So you're like cutting, instead of 48 inches a minute, 140 inches a minute. So power, speed, and the right materials and the right gas mix, you can really increase productivity. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah. And I think, the gas mixing happens inside the laser, correct? Inside the work envelope? Not work envelope, but inside the...
Some people do it outside the work envelope. Cutlite Penta does it inside the work envelope. It's a good mixer without a tank. Some have a mixing tank. Some do it just straight valves, and they do. So,
but the idea behind it is to get that, that mix of gas even throughout, so that you have no variation throughout that cut.
The advantage of using valves without a tank is that you let a tank sit for a while, the gases will unmix and you'll get a bluing. So you want to keep them mixing all the time. So it's better not to have the tank.
That's right.
So you mix them together. So.
All right.
So, and you don't do any type of nitrogen generation?
No, we're already have the tanks,
Mm-hmm.
and with nitrogen contracts, you can't mix the two. You got to start off one way or the other.
Yeah.
Basically.
And no bulk operation either?
No, we're not generating it yet ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been trying to get the gas
add about
guys.
10 more lasers, then you could probably do that.
Yeah, I mean we spent
I know
about
a
$1
guy.
million on nitrogen last year, and I'm talking to him. Why don't you put a nitrogen generation system on our plant? So hadn't got a yes yet, but we're talking.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So you're a mechanical engineer by trade. So
Yes.
you're not taking things at face value. You're studying these machines, finding out what works for you. I know in one of Tim's stories, your company even went about even machining a nozzle.
Yeah.
Especially, can you touch upon some of the things that you feel like you bring as an expert in this area?
Well, we try to listen, we learn, we break a lot of things and try to fix it and find out why we broke it.
Yeah.
That's basically it. Yeah, I'm a mechanical engineer, and my kind of theory is like, if I can't break it, it will work. So where's the Achilles heel? Try to find out what will break it, where the sensitive point is. Dealing with a lot of companies, they won't listen. Cutlite Penta does a great job of listening and tries to fix things. Like, here's the weak spot. Here's what's happening. Can you do something about that? Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. And we're still young in the relationship. But I've had others listen and others not. But if you can't break it, it'll work. That's just the whole deal. How far can you push it? Manufacturers have a certain amount of experience making things, but we're in the trenches. We're pushing them all day long. We've got different materials in the U.S. than they've got over in Europe. So your cutting characteristics are different. It's just test, push, and try to maximize what you're doing.
Right. And kind of bring us through the history of the history of heads in high power too. You have quite the history of high power heads.
We've blown up millions of dollars in cutting heads, millions of dollars. We had the first 6 kilowatt in the Western Hemisphere. We kept blowing those things up, and they switched to a different head. We'd blow those up, and okay, we think we got them fixed. Test it again. We kept pushing it and blow that up, and multiple manufacturers blowing up multiple heads for multiple people. I've sat in people's clean rooms watching them put stuff together, like, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. How do you know that? We've blown that up before.
Yeah. Mitch, has he blown anything up yet?
Not that I know of.
We didn't blow one up, but we crashed the heck out of it. And it was our fault. They've got a good warranty on the heads, but we misprogrammed something tipped, and we were cutting low and aggressive and just tore the heck out of it. It happens. It was our fault. So,
well, you were pushing the envelope. That's what you're all about.
You got it. Just, we should have done a destructive cut on something we didn't.
You're like in the R&D lab.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
They really
the test
are.
dummies for lasers.
But the deal is, though, you've got to get the advantage. If you don't get the advantage, you don't get the work.
Yeah.
Right.
You get the manufacturers in, and if you get one of their techies in, and you're bragging about your stuff, and they're going, wow, you almost make them afraid not to give you the work.
Right.
And then maybe they end up buying the machinery. So
right.
So I mean,
then you got to buy the next one.
You don't have a leveler or a automated deburr machines or anything like that?
No.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to do a little grind on the parts, and we have one little bitty, deburr. But if you got to do that all the time, then you need to do something different.
Right.
Or
that's
back off of something. Sometimes it's the material grade, the power, the focus. There's so many different things. Try to find out what the mix is, and the deal with the fibers, you've got to be consistent. You give them consistent surface, consistent material grades, and we're talking to even some of our customers, like, your range is too wide in this part. You need to narrow it down to make it better. That's the disadvantage of a high-powered fiber versus plasma. Plasma doesn't care quite so much.
Right.
But then you got to deal with, do I have to drill the holes? Do I have to do the machining? Or do I fine-tune the materials process to get more consistency, to get more output, and have a better product?
Right.
So,
and I know we talked about how Steel Warehouse is doing that, and I know, that they're Cutlite customers. So you were going to say something?
Yeah. So one of the things we talk about a lot when we're thinking about, is like, who is our customer? when we think about the Jeff Cupples of the world and what they're looking to do, one of our mottos is creating dramatic competitive advantage for our customers. Like what Jeff said, hey, if we show these types of capabilities to our clients, they're almost foolish not to give us the work, because he's a job shop. He said, if we can't get the work, we can't keep our people busy. So when we're able to create dramatic competitive advantage for our partners, like Jeff Cupples, they're able to get more work and able to feed those families and provide more. And then it continues to create that flywheel effect that his customers are going to continue to give them more work, because it gives that customer competitive advantage.
Right,
so
right.
It's nice to be a part of that journey. It's neat to see.
While you're talking about this, kind of bring us through the history of Cutlite in America, as far as when it arrived on our shores, and its kind of history in Italy as well.
One of the interesting things, and we were talking about it at lunch with Jeff, is like Cutlite's one of the biggest laser cutting companies in the world that nobody ever heard of. It's like, oh my gosh, when you think about it's a part of the Ellen Group, €1 billion+ a year business that does business in, I think, 30 countries or something like that. And they were like, what? I mean, Cutlite was busy selling everywhere, and it was almost like this undiscovered secret. And then as people started finding out about it, and Jeff being on the very early end of that, again, what was your term? If we can't break it, it works, or how do you say that?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like going out there and looking for things. And as you know, this industry doesn't keep very good secrets.
Right.
People talk, word gets around. And all of a
So I
Especially
was
now.
bragging about it when I bought it.
Well, now I wasn't meaning to say that exactly. I was saying it much more subtly.
Yeah.
But people talk in this industry, and when you find something that works, and as we all know, there's plenty of work to go around. No one's going to walk in and take Jeff's customers because they can do something well. He's got great relationships with his clients. They want more from him, and a guy 100 miles away has his great relationships. But if each of these people can do a very good job for their customers, they're going to continue to keep more loyalty. Anyway, back to your question. So, Cutlite's, producing these high power lasers and continuing to develop their technology and doing it around the world. And there were purchases coming into the States because people were going over them, buying them. And then from a strategy standpoint, and Jeff, early part of conversations, like, gosh, North America has a lot of demand, but it's all being covered from Florence, which I've been involved in multinationals for 20 plus years. That's not the best way to do it. And so after a multitude of conversations, we've got to get serious about this. Let's set up a U.S. distribution and service center. We did that in Alpharetta, Georgia. And actually, about the customer experience center that we're building there, to be able to give people an opportunity to not only see it, but also run all of our techs through that and get them trained up. So it's a long-term commitment to the North American market based here in the States to be able to service the demand. And as we talked about at lunch and before lunch, we don't have a problem selling anything right now. There's a lot of demand. We're in the right place. We're at the right time. The market timing is good for what we do. So we're very blessed.
Definitely. Now, Jeff, maybe you can talk a little bit about do you have the bevel head now?
Oh, yes.
Shh, nothing to see here, folks. Just move along.
It was actually the FabTech machine.
Okay. Yeah.
So we were going to get it in June, and they said, "Can we borrow it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, go ahead." Because
I don't think they asked.
Well, they did. They did ask, and I was like, "Well, it's a couple of months, but I did kind of get some free advertisement out of it because, our name's right there. So yeah, that doesn't hurt. Yeah, let's do it."
So I mean, have you explain kind of you brought me to actually one job you had on tap going, listen, I can bevel cut with this. I no longer have to machine this, because it was by the plasma cutter, and then there was a break with special tooling that was really cool that you would. But you said, all right, now has that now transitioned to that job?
We're still running PPAPs.
Okay.
We actually did some modifications to the cut just over the last few days. Three of the Italians were in, a couple of them were techs. We were working on things, and we're showing somebody from Canada the machines, and had Cutlite Penta America in there. It was just kind of a international type thing going on.
Right.
We're still tweaking some of those processes and learning some things. And initially stuff they said, well, you can't bevel 2-inch at a 45. Well, we disproved that. We can already do that, and we're trying to improve that. So we're still learning about some of the things ourselves. Still running some time and cycles and samples for customers, and hey, does that work? Does that not work? Is that good? Is that, what do we need to do with it? Those type of things. And then other people looking at machines, hey, can you run a few samples of those for me? Yeah, sure, why not? And some of these people are turning into customers, and then they might buy one. If they don't, that's good. If they do, that's good too. So
how much time do you spend kind of feeling out the machine before you kind of open it wide open for jobs?
we do both at the same time.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
We know it'll do this. We're cutting that. Hey, let's try
we got
that.
a PO. Let's demo it.
Okay.
I'm kind of known in the industry for being a little crazy.
Yeah.
Jumping out there and, buying the highest power, highest speed, high acceleration, whatever.
Yeah.
I think we can do this with it.
Yeah. Do you have a special team that's on kind of attacking these
there's
investigations?
There's various different people, the programmers, some of the, the estimators. I've got a couple of, high-tech maintenance guys, and we learn how to tweak things like, are we getting gas flow? What are we doing? There's several different things to watch, and just will the machine do it?
Right.
Cutlite's got an awesome head.
And that team's completely unavailable to the marketplace forever, right, Jeff?
Anything's for sale, man.
Can you
Those guys are
dive in?
terrible. Nobody else wants them.
Can you dive into the material aspect of this whole thing?
Well, one thing about fibers is that fiber cuts well if you've got plenty of power per the thickness. But if you get up into, mid ranges, you start trying to push stuff, the fiber really wants harder material. So a lot of times, you get up into certain thicknesses, the customer says A36, hey, it's okay. We'll switch over to grade 50. It meets and exceeds those. The fiber likes it harder.
Mm-hmm.
The harder it is, the faster it'll run.
Gotcha.
So,
Right.
and the chemistries of that, the grade 50 from a mini mill is much more consistent. Whereas if you get an integrated A36, you might get 6 carbon or 25 carbon. Consistency is the deal with the fiber, once
Right.
again.
That carbon produces the dross too.
Yes.
And so
Yes, too much carbon is not a good thing.
No,
Yeah. And
burns.
you have good success with your relationships with your material suppliers?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
If we don't, then I get another one.
Yeah.
But, we
Yes
go
and
in
yes.
and when we put our blankets out, we restrict our carbon to a max on certain things.
Mm-hmm.
We say we want it from this particular mill. We have some mills we don't use, and we have some mills that we really love the material of. So it's like, use this. It's in your region. We've got like 5 major processors that we use, and they're near different mills that we have approved.
Wow.
Right.
So part of that is like, we're not buying off from one mill because things happen, and economy happens. They shut down a furnace, and oh no, you got a problem.
Right.
Ran into that before. Made that mistake once, but we got them spread out a bit. You have earthquakes, you have fires, you have tornadoes, that type of stuff. So we've got backup and replication of quality people with quality materials.
And
Yeah.
it's- and
Do you check material coming in, or do you rely just on reports that come from the material supplier?
We mainly rely on the reports, but if we start having issues,
but you
we
can
dig
tell,
in,
right?
then
dig
when
in
you
right
start
away.
inspecting.
we've qualified these people.
Yeah.
We've run it for quite a while. We know the mill, and if all of a sudden I look at the certs when they come in, I spot them,
Yeah.
and the other guys do too, and it's part of the quality process. If all of a sudden somebody tries to slide something in from another country, no, that's not happening. Don't do that. Oh, we made a mistake. Sorry, because I want domestic material. So
Yeah. I'm just doing the math in my head. I'm trying to do the math in my head with the Pythagorean, a 45 degree through 2 inch.
it's a little ugly, yeah, but
I think that was a humble brag on Tim's part.
it depends. If somebody's taking plasma quality at that, but then it comes down to speed. Do you want the speed, the quality, whatever you're doing? I mean, 1.5 is pretty good. 2 inch. They said we couldn't, so we did. Cut some AR 400 at full bevel, and we were actually surprised. But what the heck? If you don't try it, you don't know.
Does plasma still have a place in your facility?
Right now, we've got a dual 300 amp system.
Okay.
You've got some things where, if you're running dual heads and you're not doing much piercing, it's just a big rectangles or big shapes with one hole that's not a precision hole, then yeah, it may outcost what you're doing. But, the decision kind of comes in, about 1.25 inches, you start seeing, the plasma might win and the hole can be really sloppy, so it might win today. But if I've got to drill that hole or do something to that hole or machine an edge, then the Cutlite wins. So then you get up an inch and a half. It's the same decision. We'll go in and we'll nest it both ways, nest it a couple of different ways, different size plates, kind of do several what if scenarios every time we're quoting something. It's not just we always know this is going to win.
Right.
Who's going to win this time under this condition and what we do.
And the grain direction, all that kind of stuff.
We built our own estimating system, so it's got a lot of what ifs in it.
Right.
As you plug it in and you go, hey, yeah, that actually won this time.
Yeah. So Mitch, I was going to ask you about, we were talking about, because, the bevel head, when I saw that, I thought that's the coolest thing. And what has been the demand? Or, as far as, all right, you see that, you're marketing it. Now, what are people thinking about that?
Yeah, well, one is just the awareness. So many people didn't even know that existed. It's like, the secret to air on Mars, and then you get one guy that hears about it and they're like, wait, what? I heard about that. And then they actually get to see it and they're like, that's real. I'm like, yeah, that's not like a demo. That's not a prototype. That's not in R&D. That's in the field. Like, people are using this in the marketplace. It's like, no way. And it just, again, comes back to speed, the amount of time, the amount of efficiency. This production floor can only output so much with the systems that you have in place. And if you go to this process, you can cut a ton of time out of that and deliver the same thing to a customer, get paid sooner. We talk about get work, do work, and get paid. If we're all getting work, great. Now, is there a more efficient way to do it so you can get paid? Because you can charge the same amount of money, be a lot more profitable. So anyway, back to your question, bevel, a ton of demand for it. People that have no requirement for it, it's a cool thing. But if you look at most of the types of customers, like the Jeffs of the world, removing processes, removing steps out of the way, no brainer. So, right. A ton of uptake on bevel. It's a nice thing to have.
Well, it's a nice thing to have, but your head design too allows for it too, because you don't have that dead space at the end of the nest. So that because it used to be, I think an earlier iteration years ago I saw where it was larger, but now it's so much smaller now, and you can.
And hats off to the guys in Italy. There's a group of engineers that I want to call this like the skunk works of Florence that come up with these ideas, and it's like, wow, if we could do this, there's a market for that. The team in Italy is really looking across the horizon, saying, and Delio, again, hats off to our CEO, global CEO. Hey, if we can come up with this, there's a need for this in the market, and constantly being on the front end, like what Jeff is saying. I like to break things. I like to come up with new things and push the envelope. And bevel is a good example, bringing that to market, creating that capability. Yeah, and we were talking earlier, we're not having a problem selling lasers, great demand. So we're focused on having a healthy, whole, and profitable business, so we can make sure we're meeting that demand. So yeah, thrilled to have bevel, thrilled to have some of the new things that are coming to market. And it's going to be a fun 24 and 25.
Are North American fabricators kind of influencing what's being developed by companies like Cutlite Penta in your eyes?
Yeah.
For the longest time, I always, you would hear kind of it's happening in Europe and will work its way here. And I just wonder if maybe that flow's going the opposite way.
Yeah, it's kind of like skinny jeans, but we think about anybody that needs to process an inch or thicker material and how they've been doing it for years. And now they got something that's 3 to 6 times faster in the same footprint. That's what's driving this. It's not like in Europe people are making thicker materials than they are here, or processing thicker materials. It's just in Europe people were using this equipment and everybody's kind of doing their thing that they've been doing for a while in the States, and now it's like, oh crap, we can go fast and efficient and clean by just using this equipment. So that's what's creating the uptake. It's not like all of a sudden somebody needed something. Now I'm talking straight cut. This bevel, obviously, big game changer. But as far as, you think 1.5 inch steel. Pick it. How you did it yesterday and how you can do it today are 2 very different approaches. And how fast you can go today, you didn't even know you could do it yesterday. And now you're like, oh my gosh. Like once you found out about it, now you never want to go back. It's like when you first got your first cell phone. Oh, we don't need a cell phone. Then you get a cell phone. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't live without it. Who would go anywhere without their cell phone these days? Kind of same thing. The technology is now available. Everybody wants it.
One thing to add to the game too. They've got the 30 kilowatt. and others are starting to do 30 kilowatt also. But one thing that Cutlite Penta will do that others will not, which is surprising. It's like you from others, you got a 30-15, you got a 40-20, you got a 60-30. Those are your machine sizes. That's standard stuff everybody buys. Oh, they'll sell you a 70-35. They'll sell you a 45-25.
Yeah, that's a good point.
What do you want? What do you need?
Yeah,
and they'll make it.
What's your need on
for
the floor?
machine size.
That's a good point.
Do you want a 13 meter by 10 meter? Sure, we'll do that.
Mm-hmm.
And they can knock it out pretty quick, because we were talking earlier before this, I wanted to see the frame manufacturing facility, and I walk in there and they can machine like a 22 meter long section of a frame. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
And the robot welding can robot weld the whole frame.
Wow.
I was just dumbfounded when I saw that.
Mm-hmm.
At the things they can do. They can do the big plate sizes that you need, because when you're buying discrete plate, you buy the 96 by 240s, that type of thing, or even bigger. They can handle that, which the standard machines won't. So it was a shock when I went in there, because I've seen a lot of stuff, and a lot of times it's hard to impress me anymore.
Yeah.
And I get bored with technology, and I got to do the next thing. That you walk in there and go, my goodness.
Dang.
I was really impressed.
Yeah.
I'm still talking about it like I just saw it yesterday. So.
Yeah. How big a bed do you have? Like, what's your largest?
Well, I thought I had a big one. We've got a 60-30, which is about a 10 by 20, and lets you do 8 foot wide full bevel. And I probably should have gotten a 70. Maybe I'll do that next time, just so I can do full bevel on the ends. But nesting will work it out. We rarely ever run anything that long. But what length do you want it? Went and saw the factory. There was a 12 out in the yard about ready to ship in a huge crate, and they had 2 13-meter machines sitting there in the factory, assemble them side by side, and a 10-meter and another 10-meter and an 8-meter. I'm just, wow.
Mm-hmm.
I just had no idea. So.
And you see big chunks of composite, right? Because they have because you don't have the laser burning through at the bottom, so to speak.
They spray some stuff on the frame to help you not cut through the machine. I've heard some people, they cut a machine in half. Literally cut a machine in half. Cut through the conveyors. We've had that happen. It's you learn something, you push it, and you learn something else.
Yeah.
You fix it, the manufacturer fixes it, and you go on. Can you work with them and talk with them? And fortunately, we're talking, with the owners and president and those guys, and they're listening. And I'm just sitting there going, wow.
There you go.
Really something to see.
Yeah. How much power is possible?
That was a trolling question, wasn't it? Did you guys hear a trolling question there? I'm just checking.
More.
So I think that's a fairly good answer, because
the old movie Wall Street. What's your number?
That's about as safe
More.
as Vegas you can get.
Well, I mean,
How far
I
you
think
wanna
there's
go?
discussion. People wonder just how much is necessary, but from your vantage point, you seem that you can make do with what the technology can give you.
A lot of it really comes down to what are you doing.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of folks, they're doing cabinet works. They don't need that type of power. They just need 6 or 8, 10, 12, whatever. But we fortunately do a lot of thin work, medium work, and then we're doing thicker work. There's the opportunities for us to do more and expand in that arena. So we're trying to take advantage of the opportunity that's there.
What end markets are driving that?
Well, I mean, you've got heavy and light ag.
Mm-hmm.
You've got building construction products, those types of things.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of folks who are using plasma and having to do a lot of secondary processes.
Wow.
That you can cut a lot of that out now. So.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Kind of go back in time, because I've always been curious. Not every shop develops into a high precision, high powered laser shop like yours. So when did you say, all right, I'm going to become a laser specialist? And how did that happen?
We were selling stuff and could sell more stuff, and they kept buying more things, so we kept providing them what they wanted.
So in other words, more.
The more. There you go.
If the customer
Jeff
wants
more
more,
Couples.
if the customer wants it, you try to give it to them. They're the boss.
Well, and at one time you were mostly machining, right? This is like back in the day.
Yeah, we were machining back in '92, we saw our first laser, a little 1,000-watt machine out in California. And next thing you know, Dad and I are out there, and we're looking at a little 1,000-watt laser punch, and he almost bought it. Nope, not going to do it. Hey, we got to back off. If it can cut 3/8 stainless, I'm going to get one. So I went to Germany and had a 3 kilowatt, cut 3/8 stainless. So we bought it. And then 6 weeks later, we bought another one because a customer found out we had it. We bought it to do specialty stuff for ourselves, cut out machining, do conveyor parts, that type of thing. But a customer found out we had it. They lost an engineer who didn't design a deck line, and we had to make all their deck components besides the deck itself. And it was running 24 hours a day, 6 days a week. And we couldn't get our stuff done, so we had to buy another one and get our stuff done. So there it went. The customer's a boss. Give them what they want. So we buy some, pause, and buy some more. Buy punches, buy a laser punch, buy more brakes. We're welding a lot of stuff, buy robots, and then buy more robots. And now we need more lasers and we need more power. It just doesn't stop. As long as the customers want things and we can provide it to them, we'll keep going. So,
speaking of keep buying things, so how many brakes do you have now?
39.
Wow.
I need 40 though. You got to have 40 just for the heck of it.
I like even numbers.
How many does Jeff
50's
need?
better.
N plus
Yeah.
one.
50's
The number he
better.
has plus one.
We've got to replace a few older ones, and that's sort of what we're doing. But
How many robotic welding cells do you have?
and we're up to 33 now. We got to get a balance.
Wow.
33 cells.
24 lasers. There'll be 26 maybe for a short period of time, but we'll kill the old CO2s. So,
Wow. So it just keeps.
Then they got to get 25. Just
So
for
we
the
got to
heck of it.
buy stock in the Tennessee Electric Company.
I know, exactly.
That feeds his street.
The thing is, like, you can run a 20 for the same amps as you could run a 6
Yeah.
CO2.
Wow.
So
Right, yeah.
So that conversation's proven to be
yeah,
real.
your
much
electrical
more.
efficiency is 40-45% versus 15.
Wow. Do you have issues with a reliable power?
No, actually, Jackson, Tennessee, where most of the machines are 20 are there for, and Dyersburg about an hour away. They just won another Diamond Award for the 8th year in a row for one of the best status systems in the country.
That's great.
Very stable power.
Yeah.
Huh. That's why all the food
Very good
processing,
supply. Yeah,
the food processing plant's saying you better have stable power. That's
you got it. You got it. So,
Right.
a little bit of everything.
Never seen so many extension cords run from the office out to the shop.
That's right. That's right. No, but that's what's so refreshing. When I visit your plant, and when I visit a lot of plants in this industry, the business model is not a jungle of mystery. It's basically
Really?
it is not.
Whose company are you talking about now?
It's product in, product out, and the way to figure out how to do things a little better.
Yeah.
And the fact that when especially your wall of fixtures
Mm-hmm.
for welding was very impressive. That I saw.
Well, we got our machine shop, so we
Well,
feed ourselves with a lot of work.
Complemented with a lot of laser cut fixtures too,
Yeah.
because you have a lot of laser cut and precision laser cut. You can get that.
And even the base we have, we go in and we've got so much work from a certain customer, we set up a mini factory for that customer and another customer and another customer. And then we have the miscellaneous area. So you've got people with the tribal knowledges and, all the scientific stuff for that particular customer. And you can cater to them a lot better and grow work with them because you understand them, your employees understand them. Instead of one thing going all over the shop to everywhere, every random different time. That's how we control some of the chaos.
right.
Trying to do the mini factory approach.
Yeah.
Right.
Your machining skills come into play in quality as well.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of fixtures. I remember reading that in Tim's story that, is that kind of a regular part of jobs that come in or just particular ones that require that type of sign off on maybe more than first piece?
It's just whatever the job needs, Of course, with the higher power, the thicker stuff, then, it's a lot easier to do some things that you used to do before. Machining certain things, you laser cut it and, it's going to be good and you do the QA check. But
Yeah.
we make even some of the fixtures with some of the higher powered lasers now. We make the plates
Right.
with precision holes and then just do the QA check and maybe add a little something to it. So
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what made it so impressive is, obviously you got the incredible laser cutting power, but then you get to, you have your organized templates in front of your forming department. You've got brakes that have just X-axis back gauge, but you just laser cut a template for a complex form there, and it works. Yep. And it's just it's logic.
And like the more power you have, the more precision you have in certain things, and fixtures, gauges.
Check fixtures, make sure everything is set. That your rolling operation had wonderful check fixtures around it, 100% check. At least the job I was observing had 100%.
Yeah, some we do that too.
Yeah.
Especially the floppy parts.
That's right.
Mitch, does this make it hard in terms of you working with Jeff and his folks, and they know their business? It's kind of obvious. I think there's a lot of wisdom leaving the industry, and there's some new people finding their way into it. And you're coming to them with this powerful tool. Does it make it harder? Knowing that maybe they don't have all the history and knowledge that Jeff does?
Yeah, well, one of the interesting things, and we were talking about this back in Italy last week, is the simplicity of using the equipment that we're bringing to the market that's in market today. You think about the difficulty in running a piece of equipment, say, from 20 years ago, compared to what you can do today. The time it takes to train somebody to work on say, for example, a Cutlite laser is way down. And then whether you're using an XME or an LME or an HD or an XYZ or an ABC, it's exactly the same interface. You learn on one, you can operate all of them. So you've got somebody who can come in a matter of days, they can be up and running that equipment, moving over, say, from just another area. Guy's been there 6 months, a year, really doesn't matter. He's running a piece of equipment. You get another piece of equipment in that does something different. The interface is the same. The way he uses it is exactly the same. So, and we talked about, we can't rely upon people my age and Jeff's age to run these businesses tomorrow, because we're just going to age. I know. Despite our greatest confidence of living forever, we're going to age out, where we're not going to be able to be involved in these industries. If we're bringing people in and we give them things that they can do that require less tribal knowledge, and it's simpler to learn and understand and operate, you solve one of those problems that used to plague us for many years, i.e. tribal knowledge or silos of information. So and that's been one of the great things. And again, as we talk to people about it, it's like, you mean our guys can be up and running this in a matter of days, and they can work on every piece of equipment with the same interface? Yeah. Oh my gosh. Versus you got to train this way on this, you got to train this way on this, you got to train this way on that.
One great thing we're seeing is that, the cutting head is phenomenal. So we're cutting with 30 kilowatt all the time. We crashed one, it was our fault. But in a year and a half, we haven't blown a head up.
Don't let Jeff drive.
We've tried. It keeps bouncing off the concrete wall and keeps running. Yeah, but
when you were talking about like 24/7,
it works great. Yeah, we're running the heck out of them. We punish our machines.
Yeah,
so like the last two,
it's
like, well, I think we're good enough at 30 for right now. I'm getting rid of these old 6s, so I'm going to put a couple of 20s in. So there's the complete and utter confidence that we're dropping down. We're going to get a fast something with higher acceleration, an XME, a basic one, but they're both 20s. It's the same cutting head.
Right.
Focal length's a little different, but yeah, it can handle the power. We don't have to worry about it. Don't have to worry about, we're going to replace 8 heads in 10 months or 14 heads in 12 months. We've done these things before. Don't have to worry about it this time. Yeah. I mean, I'm known for being crazy and trying stuff, and there's been a few times where I've gotten egg on my face, having to eat it, but I don't have to worry about it right now. So
you have to, how often do you replace the cover glass on the thing?
It just depends on what you're cutting.
Just what you're cutting.
You can go weeks sometimes.
Weeks,
you're doing
really?
real aggressive cutting on discrete plate and not etching the surface. It could be a few days. It just depends on what you're doing, how aggressive you're doing. But, one nice thing about the Cutlite is, some people have them 3.5, 4 inches above the cut surface. Theirs is about 8.5 inches up.
Mm-hmm. Way up in the head.
There's a couple of people who have them higher up, and you're not getting the blowback on those things if you're being more aggressive. So it's a really well designed head. It's going to be hard to blow it up.
Heads have come such a long way, and also optics. We had talked about the optics too.
A lot of people don't realize it's a see-through metal. with coatings on it,
Right.
And I was at one symposium and they were talking about, a 2 kilowatt fiber was 8 times as hot point heat than a 6 kilowatt CO2. And it's like a square function. Now you're at 30 and about to be higher and higher and higher. A lot of engineering has had to come into play with the lenses themselves and the coatings.
Right, and that's a bigger reason why we don't see the explosions anymore.
Yeah. We imploded lots of lenses with CO2s, and earlier fibers up to 10 kilowatt. We were
somebody say you're the
kilowatt.
bomb. It was not a compliment.
we blew up a lot of 12s, 10s, and 6 heads.
Yeah,
Bunch of them.
Yeah.
Does your involvement in kind of trying out these things kind of spur confidence with the people that work at your company, being that the owners out there kind of breaking stuff?
Or do they want to wring your neck?
Yeah, actually, that might be a better question.
Yeah, some
If
days
Jeff
it's
can break it, I
confidence, and
can.
some days, oh gosh, he's here. What's he going to do now?
Don't you have to go do a podcast?
Yeah, it's like you go out there and you got a 12 kilowatt cutting, and I don't like that nozzle. Well, we've got this type of nozzle over here. Let's go make one ourselves.
Right.
And we were cutting with a 12 kilowatt at 235 inches a minute, so we went over and made our own nozzle and told the tech, get out of the way, give us a few minutes, and got some really good techs, and they listen. I don't know what I'm doing. I can't turn the machine on, but it's like, I think we could do this because we're doing that with that other machine, blend technology. We made our own nozzle and went to 295 inches a minute on the same machine.
Wow.
So that's pretty good. We got lucky.
It's about flow. It's all about that gas flow,
Yeah,
man. And if you can get
And a couple of years later, I went by that manufacturer and they're going, look, we use Cupples nozzle. But now they've actually made better nozzles themselves, even better than what we've got. So we started buying.
So it builds on each other. You feed each other and actually improves.
There's so much nozzle technology out there. It's not just about the power. It's your focal length, how you bring the head in, the gases, how you get the gases to it, what gases you're using. But then the nozzle technology. There's so many different nozzles out there. So many people doing so many different things. Cutlite's got a good combination of nozzles, as well as some others do, but they've got a really good combination of some of the more premier nozzles out there. So
Right. And that's I think what makes it so impressive with the bevel hood is to see that cut, but then you've got that gap that changes, right? Or I don't know.
It can. And we're even, some of the initial training, they were just doing oxygen cutting, with bevel and some thicker things. Well, I think we can, let's go try something. Let's do mixed gas cutting on that bevel. Hey, that worked. Let's give it a shot. It's just trial and error a lot of times, and you learn something, and then you try to figure out if it fails, why did it break?
Yeah.
Yeah, I literally just talked to a shop this morning. Now I was typing away and they say, let's try it. That's the motto of this industry. Let's try it. Let's see if it works.
We solve other people's problems when they break things. We can solve our own problems if we break things.
Or like, you go one of the first tours I went on, I was watching somebody do compressed air cutting, which we were experts at in the day, with a 3 kilowatt in Austria. And we hadn't had our machine a few weeks. And I come back and working with our programmer technicians and, hey, let's try that. They're doing this right here roughly. And you're crazy. Well, next thing you know, it works. Then you go, well, we got to have more filtration and separation because you're blowing up and imploding lenses. But hey, you learn how to fix that too. So.
Right. And that's what, there was a great, and in fact, we talked about him. There's a shop in Missouri. I wrote a feature about the Gen Z shop owner.
Yeah,
remember him?
yeah.
He was so excited about your laser technology, and he's fascinated by all the trial and error. And you were talking about the next generation. And he said, this is real work. I could have gone, he didn't go to college, but he could have gone, he got accepted. But he said, you know what? I loved solving problems on the shop floor. And now he's when I was still in college, now has a multi-million-dollar shop.
So
the moral of the story here is don't go to college.
Well, no, don't do that. Wait,
just making sure from Tim Heston.
My dad was working until he was 91. He had 3 months of first grade education, and look what we've got.
Yeah.
So
but,
this is the moral of the story.
Back to the trial thing. The good thing about the Cutlite guys is, hey, let's try this. Their techs are coming in and, let's try it. Let's see what it does. A lot of folks forgot that we're the customer. What does the customer want? you give him what he wants, or you do your best to do that, because they're the boss. So it's working well right now.
Yeah. Hey, can you tell a story real quick about your plans for we had talked earlier before we started about moving out your CO2s, but maybe that's not working out as you had intended.
I forgot what the story was.
It's
Remind
just
me a little bit.
the CO2s kind of having issues. They're not making parts
Oh,
anymore.
yeah. When you hit the peak of the COVID issue, okay, everything came surging back. We kind of jumped a little bit ahead. When COVID hit, things went down. We bought a 20 and 2 12s. When it comes back, we're going to be ready. So we were ready. It hit. Those machines were totally consumed. We still had like 8 CO2s. When you really needed them, they wouldn't run. Now we've got enough fiber laser technology to get rid of them, and they won't die.
They won't die.
I don't know why that makes
When are you going to die? I've got an old punch like that. We
You're
bought
gonna
a
try to
laser
get
punch.
rid of me. I'm gonna
the
hang
same
on.
thing. That sucker's 2.5 years old. The laser punch is, and the old punch is still running great.
Yeah.
So,
Well, one of my favorite machines.
but it used to not run either.
That's right. One of my favorite machines was an old, I forget what brand it was, but it was an old brake you had, just a single axis.
Oh,
and
yeah.
and its bed had been shot to hell. And but I guess you just remachine it. It's like, hey, it still works, man. The bram goes up and down. You just remachined it, leveled it.
Well, we've actually
Recrowned
taken
it?
older brakes, and since we've got large machining centers, we'd go in and, well, it's rough. They've put too much pressure in here. We build it up with a weld, and then we remachine it. It's just like new again. Although we've got one really old one. That might be the one you're talking about. We call it the hammer.
Right. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
the one.
we just straighten stuff with it.
No, the one I talked about is you actually took the lower beam to the machine shop and leveled it.
Oh,
out.
yeah. We've done that 6 or 8 times easy.
Yeah.
Up to 250 ton machines, we've done it, or 60 tons.
Right.
Broken torque tubes by doing the wrong thing. We go fix that too. So
We said ram upset couldn't be fixed, right?
exactly.
Heck with it, man. You got a machine shop.
Why? People are like, you need to get rid of that. Why? It's still working. We put the proper safeties on it, fix it, and go on. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Don't go waste the money on something you don't really need.
Right.
That's right. That's
But
right.
if so we can buy more
That's-
toys.
I was about to say,
Now you can
you're
buy
buying
more
new brakes to
toys.
get to that even number.
Yeah,
Even
we
number,
might need
yes.
another laser from somebody over here.
I know a guy.
Why buy 3 brake presses when you
I know a
need that
guy.
other laser?
I
So,
know a guy.
you tell ages of people. I was the first one for our company. When I came back, we only had 30 people that time. All right. And I mentioned getting a computer. And
Right.
I thought Dad was going to shoot me. He got really mad.
Getting rid of ropes in the choir
Yeah.
also.
I mean, I was the only one in the company who'd even ever turned one on. Okay. I mean, I learned key punch machine and binary code first. This is ancient pre-PC stuff, so now look where it is. I mean, I used to teach people how to draw at night, how to trust the computer. I went to CNC machining and plasma cutting schools with the guys and basically helping them to bridge over to get able to run the computer and program stuff. And I kind of learned enough about the machine to say, that's what it's doing. There's a whole bunch of other stories past that.
Yeah.
A whole
right.
bunch of other stories.
You don't have one of those key card type punches, do you?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, that was in college.
Yeah, I see some of
Through
those
2 years of
every
college.
now and then, and that's
Four
kind of
Tran
crazy.
4.
Oh, there you
Wow.
go.
Yeah. What's that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any punch tape controls in the basement or something like that?
They're all dead.
They're all
gone.
dead?
Yeah.
I thought maybe you had them in a museum
We-
somewhere.
we
some
had-
machine tool green.
We still were running one 5 or 6 years ago. It's an
Wow,
old lathe
really?
that did both things. We didn't run it, but it had it on there as a secondary.
Wow.
But it's gone now. So
Things
Oh,
last.
that's awesome.
That's great. Old iron dies hard, man. Good
Well,
iron.
some of our
yeah.
best lathes are 1989 machines.
There you
Yeah.
go. So
Good
Makes you
steel.
wonder what we'll be talking about 30 kilowatt lasers in about 10 years.
that's right.
Yeah,
I remember back in the day when we had 30. I used to cut both ways uphill against the wind, barefoot, naked.
That's
Well,
Going to
right.
school, cutting
You can
lasers.
buy a 30 now for $50,000.
No, Jeff is going to give you some of his 30s to make room for his 300s.
What is it? That old
When-
Conan O'Brien routine in the year
When-
2020.
When we first got our C80 286 processors, it's $50 a meg for RAM.
Wow.
Now you're getting how many gig?
Yeah, terabyte for $50.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like for a USB chip, something like that. $30, something like that.
New age of software.
All right, if they've made it this long, and I'm sure everybody's under 20 listening at this point, they're the only ones with stamina to make it 50 minutes. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Mitch. Thank you, Tim. And thank you to the audience. We'd especially like to thank our friends, Cutlite Penta America, for sponsoring this episode. If you have a question, comment, complaint, criticism, send it to podcast@fmamfg.org. I think that's about it. Anything else to add? Okay, thank you very much, and goodbye.
The Fabricator Podcast is a production of Fabricators and Manufacturers Association, located in Elgin, Illinois. The show is hosted by Dan Davis and the staff of FMA Communications. The podcast is produced by Gareth Slager and recorded and edited with the help of Brandon Geyer. Sales support provided by Andy Flando. Additional production support by Elizabeth Gavin, Dana Weicker, Mary Diamond, Mike Owens, and me, Sarah Spring. Thank you for listening.
This is being recorded?